Imagine this. It's the main event of WrestleMania 42. The World Heavyweight Champion on a months-long reign, Seth freaking Rollins, is defending his championship. And across from him, the challenger for that title, Sami Zayn. A moment Sami has been waiting 20 plus years for in his career. A moment where he can finally become world champion. Now, how did we get here? That's today's chapter in Storybook Wrestling. So the start of the story takes place shortly after WrestleMania 41, when Seth Rollins wants Sami Zayn to get traded to SmackDown so he doesn't have to be involved in what's going to be coming up. Sami Zayn refuses, he's beaten down by Bron Breakker. Our story picks up from there. So altering away what happened in reality when Sami Zayn and CM Punk returned the next week on Raw to help Jey Uso, we're going to be diverging from that path a little bit. Sami Zayn actually stays out a few weeks longer to sell the injuries given to him by Bron Breakker. However, he does return in time for the June edition of Saturday Night's Main Event. At Saturday Night's Main Event, Sami Zayn takes on Bron Breakker with Paul Heyman in his corner. Despite the best efforts of Sami though, Paul Heyman's underhanded tactics do manage to lead to Bron Breakker getting a pretty dominant victory. But this doesn't mean that Sami Zayn's just going to let this stuff with Seth Rollins go. He continues to be a thorn in his side, costing him opportunities for the World Heavyweight Championship, costing him a match against CM Punk, until Seth Rollins finally decides that he has to take care of this problem himself. This leads to a match between Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins at Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia. However, there's a stipulation for the match. Seth Rollins says that if and when he beats Sami Zayn, Sami has to align with Seth Rollins' vision. A little bit of a sidebar, but as of the recording of this, Seth Rollins' group doesn't actually have a name yet. I personally call it The Vision. It makes sense with him being the visionary and his vision for WWE's future. I think The Vision's a great name, so I'm probably just going to refer to them as The Vision going through this, even if that turns out not to be the name that they go with. So we get to Night of Champions, Sami Zayn back in Saudi Arabia, all the fans behind him needing to beat Seth Rollins, needing to prove that Seth's vision is not the correct one. The match, full of drama, features Sami Zayn managing to take out Bron Breakker with a haluva kick, stopping Paul Heyman from interfering, but at the end of the day, Seth Rollins wins. Seth hits the stomp on Sami Zayn and he pins him 1, 2, 3. Sami realizing he has to join Seth. Moving forward a few weeks, Seth Rollins has been named the #1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam, and his opponent is Jey Uso. Over the next few weeks leading up to the match, Seth Rollins keeps reminding Sami Zayn that he has to do what's best for the vision. He lost. He is a follower of Seth Rollins now. Sami is very clearly not happy about this, but he is a man of his word. We get to the match at SummerSlam, and Sami Zayn begrudgingly helps Seth Rollins win the World Heavyweight Championship. It's not anything major that he does, maybe just a little distraction that causes Jey to slip up when going for the Uso splash or for the spear, but it's enough, and Seth Rollins has claimed the World Heavyweight title. The next month, Seth Rollins uses his new power given to him by the World Heavyweight Championship to set up a match between Jey Uso and a very reluctant Sami Zayn. When we get to the match though, Sami Zayn is obviously very reluctant to have to fight Jey Uso. It turns out there's not much he has to worry about, however, as Bron Breakker and Seth Rollins both get involved in the match, putting a beating on Jey Uso and essentially laying him down at the feet of Sami Zayn, saying, "Pin him." And Sami does. Over the course of the next few weeks, we start to build up to War Games, however, as it'll be Team Vision versus Team Uso. The remaining members of the teams really don't matter that much. The key players in this are, of course, Jey Uso, Seth Rollins, and Sami Zayn. And it all comes to a climax in that War Games match. Seth Rollins angry at Sami Zayn for maybe not doing exactly what he told him to, maybe not giving a kick to Jey Uso when he wanted him to, starts prodding him, getting mad at him. Sami just backing up against the ropes, not knowing what to do, not wanting to break his word, but not wanting to turn on his friend. Seth Rollins, exhausted at this point, turns away from Sami Zayn right into a spear from Jey Uso. Jey pins Seth Rollins as Sami stands next to him, looking down, doing nothing. The next night on Raw, Seth Rollins is obviously furious at what Sami Zayn did at War Games, and it's time, in his words, to take out the trash. Bron Breakker unleashes the most brutal version of himself that we've seen yet, absolutely decimating Sami Zayn. Security guards pulling him away, producers pulling him away. Sami Zayn gets taken out on a stretcher. We don't know when or if we're ever going to see him again. So a few months go by as Seth Rollins deals with other challenges for the World Heavyweight title until we get to the Royal Rumble. Bron Breakker enters at number 4 and goes on an absolute dominant spree. Think of Brock Lesnar from the 2020 Royal Rumble, or Braun Strowman anytime he's in a Royal Rumble. That is until Sami Zayn returns and enters the Royal Rumble with just him and Bron Breakker in the ring. Sami manages to overcome the badass dog and eliminate Bron Breakker from the Royal Rumble. Unfortunately, Sami does not go on to win the Royal Rumble. He maybe makes it to the final 2 or 3, but that is not his spot tonight. With the eventual winner of the Royal Rumble deciding to face the WWE Champion, whoever that is at this time, the World Heavyweight title does need a challenger at WrestleMania, however, and that's when we get to the Elimination Chamber. Sami qualified to earn his spot in the chamber, and Seth Rollins is furious. He uses his political power to get Bron Breakker an automatic spot in the chamber without even having to qualify, with the sole purpose being making sure Sami does not win that match. Once we get to the Elimination Chamber, we found out that Seth Rollins has used even more of his political influence to make sure that Sami Zayn starts the match at number 1, and that his protector, his dog, his insurance policy, Bron Breakker, enters the match last. It's a long and dramatic battle, but once the dust starts to settle, we're once again down to Sami Zayn and Bron Breakker. This is also a great time to start teasing any dissension between Bron and Seth. We're not going to be breaking them up in the story, but it's a little seed for the future, for maybe a potential WrestleMania 43 match of, well, what would have happened if Bron Breakker won that match? Which is probably a spoiler. Sami Zayn does in fact win the Elimination Chamber. He gets to take on Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. But there's more loose threads in the story that need to be tied up. We have several weeks between the Elimination Chamber and WrestleMania, and we have a lot that still needs to get done. The biggest of which is Sami Zayn apologizing to Jey Uso. It takes a little bit of persistence, but eventually Jey Uso does forgive Sami Zayn, and Sami Uso and Jey Uso are back together. This leads to a tag team match between Sami Zayn and Jey Uso taking on Bron Breakker and Seth Rollins, and Sami and Jey win when Jey Uso gets a surprise roll-up on Bron Breakker. This leads to a brutal attack on Jey Uso by Bron Breakker while Sami Zayn is being restrained by Seth Rollins. This also has parallels to the story that Jey Uso had with Gunther going into WrestleMania 41, where he had to watch his own brother get beat up. But don't worry, that won't be ending the same way. The next week on Raw, Sami Zayn comes out with an impassioned promo talking about how much this means to him, how long he's been working towards becoming a world champion, all the people that doubted him, all the people that said that he couldn't do it, that he wasn't big enough, that he wasn't strong enough, that he wasn't good enough. But he's ready to prove them wrong, and he's ready to prove Seth Rollins wrong about his vision. That takes us to the final edition of Monday Night Raw before we get to WrestleMania. Sami Zayn is taking on Bron Breakker. The match goes to a no contest when Seth Rollins gets involved, and the two start beating up Sami Zayn. This leads to the return of Jey Uso, who manages to make the save and leave Sami and Jey standing tall at the end of the show. And we're now at WrestleMania 41. Night 1 is when both of these matches will be taking place. Yes, both, because our first match is going to see Jey Uso taking on Bron Breakker in a street fight. You could really say that this is going to be Bron's breaking out point as him and Jay battle all over the stadium in an absolutely brutal clash, but Bron Breakker does eventually get the win over the former World Heavyweight Champion. But with the damage sustained throughout the match, Bron Breakker is now no longer available to be in the corner of Seth Rollins in the main event of Night 1. This takes us to the finale, Seth Rollins versus Sami Zayn at WrestleMania 42. Seth tries to pull out every trick in the book, Paul Heyman tries to pull out every trick in the book, but it's just not enough. Seth Rollins goes for the stomp. Sami Zayn backs out of the way. Seth Rollins stumbles forward, he charges back at Sami Zayn, catches him though, in an exploder suplex. Sami charges to the other corner, and we get a callback to winning the NXT Championship versus Neville over a decade ago. Sami Zayn charges in, Helluva kicks Seth Rollins, and wins the World Heavyweight title. Jay comes to the ring to celebrate, Jimmy comes to the ring to celebrate, depending on where we are with the story and his health, maybe even Kevin Owens comes out to celebrate. You could even have Roman Reigns show Sami Zayn a sign of respect. But it's finally time, it's Sami's moment, and he's on top of the hill. So what did you think of this story? Do you think it could happen? Do you like it? Would you make any tweaks? Let me know down in the comments below, and I will see you guys for the next chapter of Storybook Wrestling.